Welcome to Area DMG.
Welcome back to Area DMG. I am your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at the first 15 minutes of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. They're coming to get you, Barbara. There they are. There's one now. Yeah, this, Johnny's not, her brother kind of sucks. It really does. It's like, really? Seriously? Your brother kind of sucks. Anyways, it's Halloween time. It's October, and we don't normally do anything for Halloween, or Christmas for that matter. We don't do theme stuff. But we darn well should, and we're going to, because, that whole first 15 thing, it's doing okay, I think. Feedback, I wish there were a bit more feedback on it, so if you like these, hit that thumbs up button, hit those comments, and let us know what you think, and also, let me let you in on a secret here about the first 15. This is where we look at the first 15 minutes of a film. It doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be anything, really. Just like we take a look at those first 15 minutes of a film, and we talk about what happens in those first 15 minutes, and whether it's enough to compel you to watch the rest of the film, if it introduces the interesting concepts in the film. Because the most important things in your film are your first 15 minutes and, of course, your establishing shot. What are you trying to say with your movie? What are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? You can set up a lot of stuff. Now, there are some people, and we'll get into this when we start doing some older films or some films by certain directors, like Steven Spielberg, for example, tends to do this. But you'll note that there's a bit of a... there are some weird, almost exceptions to this rule, because like certain things or certain characters that are important to some stories don't show up within the first 15 minutes, but might be hinted at. But you'll find that for the most part, you can watch the first 15 minutes of anything and decide whether or not it's going to be worth your time. And today we're going to take a look at, Night of the Living Dead by George Romero. We've got it on good old-fashioned THX certified DVD. It's the little DVD that was in like the Millennium Edition. The original classic. Not colorized. In glorious black and white and full frame, baby. From 1968. Not rated. Not censored in any way. Not colorized or fixed up other than, to just restore it a little bit. But yeah, this Night of the Living Dead is the grandfather or the common ancestor of zombie films. I know there was a movie called Zombie or White Zombie, if I remember correctly, an old black and white one. But that was more zombification by voodoo or whatnot. And that's a little bit different. This is the one where you have full-fledged, both slow and fast, shambling zombies of various forms of being eaten. They eat the flesh of the living. What do they blame it on? Is it some type of biohazard, some type of radiation off of a satellite from Neptune or whatnot? We don't know. It just kind of happens. But let's talk about the first 15 minutes of this film, and let's discuss a couple of the tropes. Oh, by the way, zombies in Night of the Living Dead are fairly intelligent. They try and open doors like normal human beings would, sort of. They use tools. Their entire desire is to kill and feed on the flesh of the living. And even after they've killed something, they won't just start devouring it if there's others' food in the area. It's kind of like, I want the food so bad, so bad. That type of thing. But you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? That's terrible. Actually, this is some really horrific things that happen in it, being all black and white, and it's legitimately kind of scary. It starts out kind of cheesy though, but let's get into the establishing shot for Night of the Living Dead. Now, the establishing shot in Night of the Living Dead is of a winding road. And you can see a little bit of this car that's carrying our two main characters, Barbara and Johnny. Barbara and Johnny are driving out to this cemetery in the middle of nowhere, 3 hours one way, 3 hours back, to put down a cross at their father's grave for their mother, who can't make it out there because she is too old and too infirm to make it on the ride. We have some teasing between Johnny and, Johnny's teasing Barbara because Barbara is a bit of a scaredy cat. She's always been traumatized by, her brother playing mean tricks on her or whatnot. And he starts teasing her a little bit. He's like, hey, by the way, before they leave the car and before they get to the little grave and before he puts on his infamous little gloves, you get a snippet of the radio coming in that something's wrong. There's automatically, in this movie, a sense of like, some type of quiet, empty dread as the opening credits roll in, and then like the music just kind of sweeps in a little bit. It's kind of somber, kind of something's going on, and then you get a little hint from the radio, and there's not much else, and then you get Johnny just kind of teasing Barbara after she puts a little cross on her father's grave and says they're praying. He's like, praying's for church, and she's like, yo, I haven't seen you in church in a while. And he's like, well, I don't need it. And he goes on this little thing where he says that he once scared her when they were at a different cemetery or whatnot. No, at that same cemetery apparently, because I guess they moved away from the city or something for this. Anywho, he would tease her, and his grandfather, or their grandfather, was all like, "You're gonna burn in hell," blah 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 blah. And I'm like, huh. I think it's kind of funny because he instantly gives you a couple things about it. These people are white yuppies and with Jewish ancestry because when he's parodying his grandfather, it's obviously a stereotype. I'm like, oh no, wow, really? There's a lot of stereotypes in here, but not really. It actually subverts quite a bit. But anyways, he's teasing Barbara. He's like, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Kind of like teasing her a little bit, like, oh, the dead are going to rise from the dead, and they're going to get you, and they're going to get you. You're going to, oh, goodness. If you've seen Night of the Living Dead, if you haven't seen it, it is a treat and a half, and you should go see Night of the Living Dead. I'm going to try and not spoil some of the later stuff, but, the way it played, like, all these tropes were invented here, although the idea of setting zombies on fire and then using fire to push away and deter zombies has kind of fallen in the wayside. I mean, the only thing that I've seen that's constructively used the idea of zombies being kind of afraid of flame was Road of the Dead, which used them as fuel. The zombies became kind of fuel in that, and it became kind of like a weird Mad Max zombie apocalypse type thing, and that's actually kind of cool, where people realized that the blood or whatnot of the zombies was flammable, and I need to find a copy of that. It's no longer on Netflix, and that kind of bugs me a bit, because that's one that I would love to rewatch. There's a lot of really good zombie movies out there. I recommend Warm Bodies. I recommend Maggie. I recommend The Girl with All the Gifts. I recommend there's a bunch. Shaun of the Dead. I recommend Juan of the Dead, which is pretty great actually. That one's fun. There's a bunch of different fun zombie movies. The Dead, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there's this one where it was a zombie film that takes place in Africa, where there's very little people, and you're like, what? Couldn't you see a zombie for miles and miles away in this area? Yeah, you can. And they just don't stop, though. They will get to you. You'll be tired. They'll chase you. If you can still see them, they can still see you. And they will not stop till they get to you. And they pull you into their arms and embrace you with their teeth and rip your succulent flesh from your bones while you're still alive. Okay, yeah. Zombies are kind of terrifying. I mean, we have all sorts of names for them now, but seriously, yeah, zombies are kind of terrifying. Oh, There's some really bad movies too, like Robo Vampire. I'm looking out here. That's got hopping Chinese zombies or hopping Chinese vampires. Yeah, we'll get into that at some point. But let's get back to Night of the Living Dead. Anyways, he's teasing her and he's like, "Ah, look, there's one coming for you now." The first zombie you see in here makes me think of Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who and other British things. And I always think of it as, oh, that's the Capaldi zombie. Well, all through that entire season, I watched the first season of his series, and I was just like, oh man, the writing's gotten really, really bad in Doctor Who. What's up with that? And then also, why does he always make me think that at some point he needs to be like, "They're coming to get you, Barbara"? Actually, what happens is her brother's all like, "I'm gonna run away," blah blah. He's teasing her, and she's just walking by the Peter Capaldi zombie who attacks her. And then her brother heroically jumps out there and pushes Peter Capaldi zombie away from her. And there's a scuffle, and he bangs his head on a tombstone and dies. And she's running, right? She runs to the car. She realizes she's in the car, and she's all like, "I don't have the key to the car." So what'd she do first? She locks the doors. Peter Capaldi zombie comes up there. He's trying to push on the glass, trying to push out the window. She's pushing back against it. And then he's all like, Capaldi zombie's all like, "I'm going to take a rock and I'm going to smash open the window and get you." And she's all like, he's smashing that window. He's going in there trying to get at her. This is all like, this whole chase sequence takes like 6 minutes. I mean, we've seen our zombie within 4 to 5 minutes of, about 4 minutes into the film. And we've gotten a little bit about Barbara and Johnny, just enough so we know a little bit of their backstory. Nobody's backstory is truly that important in this film, but let's keep going. Anyways, Peter Capaldi zombie's all like, "I'm trying to get you from the window thing." And she's all like, "Well, I'm on an incline. I'm going to take the car off neutral and try and glide it down try and get away as far as I can," which is a legitimate strategy. One thing you'll note in here is that there is legitimately nothing stupid going on with some of these characters. I mean, there are some stupid choices later on, but they're all logical in that there's stuff that they're mistakes that people would make. You don't have anything where somebody's like, "I'm going to shoot myself on top of this dumpster and knock you into the zombies, Glenn." Yeah. Oh, we're just going to do this thing here where, hey, we did this thing, which didn't follow the comics, but then we're going to still do this thing because of other character that we want to be. Yeah, there's so many dumb choices in The Walking Dead, seriously. But yeah, going back to Night of the Living Dead, she puts the car into neutral, car starts rolling down the hill. She kind of crashes it partially into a tree. And she has to evacuate the car. She's running around. By the way, she's running in these shoes with little lifts on the back. They're kind of like, not high heels, but just heels, essentially. And then she falls over, which is a trope you see in a lot of these types of films. Oh, you're being chased. But she falls over. She doesn't fall over again. What she realizes, like, man, these shoes are terrible. She kicks off the shoes and runs barefoot. And then runs into that little house. She tries to figure out a way to go through the door. She tries to go around the back. She gets in there. These characters don't really make too many mistakes. And then she's sitting there like, she grabs a knife. She checks the phone. She locks the doors. She tries to keep away from the windows. Just generally what people would do. And then she tries to go upstairs and we see our first decomposed body. And it's so horrifying and awful that she is in such shock that she's just like, I don't know. I just don't know. Then she kind of wanders almost outside, almost into the, like she just kind of wanders in a stupor because of what she saw. She's so traumatized by it. Then we get our other character, and for the life of me, I don't remember what his name is coming off here. I should have written down my notes, but I didn't. Anyways, because I'm not actually going off notes. I'm just going kind of ad lib on this one. So, I just watched the first 15 minutes so I can tell you what happens here. We get our second major character, and this is black guy I'm going to call, I don't remember what his name is, but I'm going to call him Barry from Resident Evil, because he reminds me a little bit of him. Except, like, yeah, he's just all like, He's the most competent character in here, by the way. He makes all these plans and choices. First thing he does is like, yeah, we got to get out. We have to figure out how to get out of here. He sets out the stakes in the movie. And then he goes about like, they go, this is a little past the 15 mark. I watched the movie. I was just like, you know what? Okay, I hit the 15 mark. Everything here is good. This is a movie where if it's trying to get me to the 15 mark, you got me by the 15-minute mark. But after the whole thing where he's like, oh, I'm trying to get away, Barbara, blah, blah, and she's like, you're ignorant, blah, 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 blah. And after she gets attacked and the horror actually begins, she doesn't say a word for the most part until the other character shows up. And then she's like, what is happening? He's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I got through this thing and this thing. He's the one who discovers that the zombies are kind of afraid of fire. He uses all this information. This is guy just, he is together. He's the most competent character there. He's trying his darndest to keep everyone alive and keep everyone to that. It's played off a bit later on where people don't really trust him, and there's a lot of subtext and social commentary in The Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead, not The Night. Night of the Living Dead. Night in small letters and of the Living Dead in big capital letters. Anyways, the main character, you've got the two main characters, the ones that you should be rooting for, which are Barbara and I kind of want to call him Barry. I really do. But yeah, I kind of want to call him Barry. That's what I'm gonna do. Anyways, you've got those two main characters. You've already established what needs to be done. You've already established that these things are tough and it takes more than a bit to kill them. By the 15-minute mark, none of these zombies have been killed. They haven't been stopped. No one's done anything like that yet. You don't know if they can be stopped. You're not sure. At this point, you're just like, how are they going to get out? And that's the point. I mean, zombie films either have the people be too weak and the zombies too powerful, or the people are too powerful and the zombies are just fodder. And then there's too many characters who are just fodder in these things. Still got a little bit of a cold, still trying to get over that, but I had to do this. I had to talk about Night of the Living Dead. And I hope that you check it out this Halloween. You should get the one that's in black and white, as it should be, as God intended, as God Romero intended. The 1968, not rated, uncensored, glorious black and white, not some cut down version like you would see on in many other countries. I mean, our media goes to Australia and Europe and it gets censored, which I've never really understood. Same with stuff sometimes that we send to Japan gets censored. Yeah, for as all the problems that we have, at least we don't censor our zombie movies. Seriously. Anywho, there's so many different tropes that show up in here because this is the movie that invented those tropes. And it's awesome. The acting is a little iffy here and there. The editing's a little iffy here and there because it's made kind of with an amateur style, and that's fine. The opening shot of a long winding road with nothing in it, just something in the horizon that's moving into frame. That would be the car, by the way. The car's moving into frame at that part, and you're like, "Ooh." Anyways, that part there, you just look at that and you're like, man, there's some beautifully done, glorious black and white scenes in here. And I really think you should check out Night of the Living Dead. I would give it a B for the first 15 minutes. And yes, I would continue watching it. In fact, I did. And I think it's great. Lots of fun horror with some interesting social commentary and a little bit of a... You see, what we want to see in a horror movie is a good horror movie shouldn't just be like, jump scare, jump scare. A real good horror movie should make you fear or make you feel afraid while you're watching it, or give you that sense of unease, like, what would I do in this situation? What would I do here? Would I have done the same thing that this character did? Would I be this character or would I be this character? The human drama of zombie films comes through in here, and it comes through in a way that's honest, which I really appreciate. You should do yourself a favor and catch Night of the Living Dead, especially since this is being done during this is being recorded during Halloween. And honest to goodness, let's get down to business here. It's a good film. The first 15 minutes is utterly convincing in showing you that, hey, here's our monster, here's what's happening, here are these two main characters, let's see what they do. There's a lot of stress in that, though. I mean, they play up the woman in peril thing a lot in this, and you're like, what? Why is this so weirdly intense? And it works. I mean, if you're doing a horror movie, there you have to think about when you want to show your monster. Now, in horror movies, that's a thing. You have to think about, when am I going to show the creature? Anyways, when are you going to show the creature in your film? Some movies don't even show their creature till the end of it. And then you're like, that was the creature? But a good horror movie knows when to reveal their creature. Or maybe they reveal their creature without revealing their creature. I need to do like a first 15 minutes on some other ones, like the Stepford Wives, or like, the old horror movie one, not the weird, terrible comedy thing they made, which was awful. Or think about like Gremlins or Critters, or what's a good one? I think we're going to do The Birds at one point here, and then also maybe Vertigo, and definitely I want to take a look at the first 15 minutes of Psycho, because Psycho's a very deliberate one. There's actually that little twist in it where you're like, wait a second, what happened? But it's a film where they're like they actually did not allow people to show up late to the theater because they were afraid that people would show up late and be like, where's Janet Leigh? I thought she was in this movie. Yeah, the idea of set times and being like, hey, there's no admittance after a certain time here into your movie was a new concept at the time, and people were like, huh? Why would you, what? But it makes sense. And I think the next thing we should do is probably The Birds, because that's a decent horror movie by Alfred Hitchcock, and it's a good one to go through and check. Or maybe maybe I'll also do Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead while we're here at some point. Because, like, hey, it's Halloween, it's October, it's spooky and spoopy and whatever. Hit that like button, hit that share button. And, we've been discussing, essentially zombie movies and Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead's first 15 minutes contain a chase sequence that goes on for about 8 of those 15. So it knows what type of movie it wants to be, and it keeps you with the suspense. They introduce the two main characters in this, being Barbara and dude that I called Barry. I forgot what his name is. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I forgot the names of the other people that show up in there. Yeah. Like, okay, there was that annoying couple and that annoying family with the annoying kid. And just, just wonderful. And a lot of this movie doesn't tell you things. It doesn't sit there and go, hey, here's what happens with the zombies, blah, 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 blah. A character will be like, hey, I have this information that I figured out. Here you go. And then there's the TV later on where they're trying to figure out, what could possibly have gone wrong? But yeah, generally a good rule of thumb with a movie is know what your movie's about, stick to it, and let us know within the first 15 minutes, which this one does. This is already a compelling, there's already a lot of action in it, and you're like, I want to see how you've set up the predicament in the first 15 minutes, and now we got to see how these people escape. What happens? And that That, my friends, is what a good horror movie is about. A good horror movie is about stress. It's about stressing your audience. Now, there are horror movies that are all like home invasion horror movies are interesting, or the ones where it's a psychological horror movie, like a Jacob's Ladder, or let's see, a Pan's Labyrinth, or a Devil's Backbone. Then there's the weird horror comedy stuff like Shaun of the Dead, or horror superhero stuff, or horror romance stuff. I mean, we could talk a little bit about stuff like Hellboy, or Night Watch, Secret Window, Signs. Yeah. The Orphanage is a good one. Red State's a good one. Ooh, there's so many different ones. But yeah, if you love horror movies, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to talk about a bunch. We're going to talk about a bunch of different movies, because the whole point of the first 15 is so that I can rant about movies for as long as I want. Movies and video games, and video game movies. Like, part of the reason I wanted to do this is, one, because of movies like Wreck-It Ralph that exist, and also I wanted to rant about The Little Mermaid for a while. And also because there are some terrible movies that deserve a look, and I'm looking right at it right here. Oh, yes! I'm looking at Super Mario Brothers, the movie, and I'm thinking, I need to review you, sort of. Like, at least your first 15 minutes and go over why you're terrible, why you have nothing to do with the game, and how you blow your chances on this. But yeah. Movie critique. I like it. And there's a lot to go through. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead. Oh my gosh, some of the shots in this film are amazing in how they use it. Like, they put the camera in all these interesting places. In the part where Barbara's in the car and the Peter Capaldi zombie, the Dr. Zombie. Who's zombie? He's zombie. Is sitting there banging on the window trying to get in there, and she's banging against the window like, no, you can't come in here, blah, blah, blah. You know where the camera is in this? It's in the side seat, staring at her back. So she's taking up like a huge amount of the frame, and you can kind of see what's happening with the window. It's just so frantic, and just the horror movie angles are fantastic. A lot of people like to look at Citizen Kane, and they don't realize that Citizen Kane is a drama that's filmed like a horror movie. Very simple drama. Script is kind of meh, but what makes it is the horror movie angles, the way the camera is used dynamically. And in Night of the Living Dead, the camera is used very dramatically. You have some sweeping shots, and then you have some weird close-ups and smash cuts. But generally, you find that the camera follows around not in a normal way, but in like, oh, it's over here on this side. Characters commonly fill up an entire frame of area of reference. The whole thing is just wonderfully put together. There's a lot of darkness in here that just takes away from the detail to make a lot of what you don't see more terrifying than what you do. And you know what? That's the way you show, don't tell. You show the fear. When Barbara's running away from Peter Capaldi zombie, she's all like, she is desperate. She just saw this thing take out her brother, who she's kind of got some issues with because, he used to scare her all the time. But the thing that scared her all the time is now dead to something real and menacing in there that she knows she should be afraid of it. She doesn't completely understand why. And then when she sees that dead body, mostly eaten, partially stars, it just breaks her. And you're like, Barbara, why are you so just frozen by this? And it is so, oh my gosh, this movie, some of the stuff that happens in it is just truly awful and weirdly ironic. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this thing is It is a trip and a half, and it's so worth checking out. If you can, I think it's on Hulu. I think this version's on Hulu. Check it out. Check it out. It's probably on a streaming service at this moment, or you can pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray. It's available on either of those. But yeah, just fantastic. And oh yeah, yeah. I know. I'm just sniffing a little bit here. I'm sniffing here because I've got a bit of a cold, but also because just that line in there is just so good to me. I'm just like, so much of this film, like the little bits of dialogue there used fairly sparingly within the first 15 minutes, all of it works so well. You've got that little banter between Johnny and Barbara, and you're like, there is a genuine chemistry with some of these characters here, and then it's disregarded because he gets killed by the zombie. By the Peter Capaldi zombie, who's all like, "We gonna smash your head on a rock." Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm gonna use this nasal stuffiness like. Anyways, hit that thumbs up, hit that share, hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell so you're notified whenever we have a brand new video, and just go watch Night of the Living Dead. It's worth it. Definitely worth it. And the first three in that trilogy are definitely worth it. Worth checking out. Yes. So yeah, I just wanted to rant about Night of the Living Dead for about 30 minutes. I mean, many people can make a business out of that. Me, I just want to do it because I can. And I'm going to have to get some nice, sweet, kind of horror game related footage to put in the background of this. Yeah, because horror games have got it going on. Yeah. Anywho, this has been Area DMG. We're doing the first 15, and this has been just a bunch of commentary and talking about zombie movies kind of in general, and Night of the Living Dead. And rather, the first 15 minutes, the first effective 15 minutes of Night of the Living Dead that compels you to watch the rest of it because you darn well should. And Night of the Living Dead is excellent and superb. And just again, they're coming to get you, Barbara! Because you're not subscribed to Area DMG. You should subscribe to Area DMG, because if you don't subscribe, zombies will eat you while you are asleep. You'll wake up with them digging their bony hands with their extended fingernails into your flesh and ripping your entrails out from your still beating and moving and quivering body. The pain and the terror will keep you frozen to your bed, and you'll be unable to do anything but maybe let out a gurgling scream while they satisfy their carnal lust for flesh, eating your innards, violating you in the worst possible way by scooping out your guts and eating them. Yes, and they only will do that because you didn't subscribe to Area DMG, which you should do. Make sure you're subscribed to Area DMG so that you are notified whenever we have a brand new video, and you can stay a while and listen. But yes, whenever we have a brand new video here on Area DMG. And until the next video comes out on Area DMG, you are now caught up. Morning, Maya.